In early 2020, when the world really needed something to look up at, astronomers started buzzing. They have found something. A new comet, rocketing towards the sun, was getting brighter fast. This wasn't just any comet. This was it. This was C2019Y4 Atlas, and it was being called the Comet of the Century. It was supposed to be a spectacular show, bright enough to see with the naked eye, a glowing beacon of hope in a very weird time. But if you are trying to remember that amazing comet and you are just drawing a blank, there's a very good reason. This isn't a story about a glorious celestial show. This is the story of a comet that faked its own hype and then died one of the most dramatic public deaths we have ever seen. So where did this superstar even come from? It was discovered, as you might guess from the name, by Atlas. But Atlas isn't a person. It stands for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, which, side note, is probably the most terrifyingly cool name for a telescope system ever. Its job is basically to be Earth's robotic bodyguard. It's a pair of telescopes in Hawaii and Chile that scans the entire night sky every 2 nights, looking for any moving objects that might be on a collision course with us. On December 28, 2019, Atlas flagged a new, faint, fuzzy object. Nothing too crazy at first. Just, hey, new comet. They catalogued it C2019Y4 Atlas. And that's when things got really interesting. You see, astronomers are like cosmic detectives. The first thing they do is check a new object's path, its orbit, and when they run the numbers for Comet Atlas, they did a double take. Its orbit was almost identical to the legendary Great Comet of 1844. That's a huge deal. It's strongly suggested that this new comet was probably a fragment, a chunk that had broken off the same giant parent body that produced the 1844 comet, and that comet was spectacular. But that wasn't the only thing. This new comet was activating. Activating is just a science-wide term for a comet doing its thing. As it gets closer to the sun, the ice on its surface heats up, skips the liquid phase and turns straight into gas, creating that beautiful fuzzy coma or atmosphere and the long tail. And Comet Atlas was activating aggressively. In just a month, its brightness exploded. It increased by over 4,000 times. This thing was glowing up. Projections started flying. It could get as bright as the planet Venus. You might be able to see it in broad daylight. The internet, of course, went nuts. The hype train had left the station and it was going at full speed. This was going to be the event. And then, right at the peak of the hype around late March 2020, something weird happened. It stopped. The graphs that were shooting straight up just flattened. Astronomers, both professionals and the thousands of amateurs who were tracking it every single night, all started reporting the same confusing thing. It's not getting brighter. In fact, it might even be getting fainter. This was not part of the plan. A comet flying straight towards the sun should be getting more active, not less. It's like a rocket engine setting down in the middle of a launch. What was going on? Did it run out of gas? Was it just a psi comet? The data just wasn't making sense. The comet of the century was suddenly looking a little sick. The mystery wouldn't last long, because what happened next was the astronomical equivalent of a car crash in slow motion. In early April, amateur astronomers with their high-powered backyard telescopes started reporting that the comet's nucleus, its solid, bright center, looked wrong. It wasn't a sharp, single point of light anymore. It looked fuzzy, elongated. Some said it looked like a string. It was clear that something catastrophic was happening. This is when the big guns got involved. They pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at Atlas to get a clear, high-resolution look to see what was really going on. And what Hubble saw wasn't a comet, it was a crime scene. The comet was gone. In its place was a long, ghostly trail of pieces. Hubble's first image on April 20th showed over 30 distinct fragments. When it looked again 3 days later, it saw 25. The nucleus hadn't just cracked, it had shattered. It was a string of icy balls, each one a tiny, doomed ghost of Great Comet it was supposed to be. C2019Y4 Atlas was officially dead. So what killed it? This is the official autopsy report. The first thing you have to understand is that comets are not solid rocks. The classic description is dirty snowball, but even that might be too generous. A better analogy might be a crunchy snow cone, or maybe one of those weird flaky ice chunks at the back of your freezer. They are loose collection of ice, dust and rock held together by ancient frozen gases from the birth of the solar system. They are incredibly fragile. We now think two things probably conspired to kill Comet Atlas. First, it might have spun itself through death. As the ice on its surface heated up, it wouldn't just turn to gas smoothly. It would burst out in violent, uneven jets of gas and dust. If those jets are angled just right, they can cause the whole comet to start spinning faster and faster until the sheer rotational force, the centrifugal force, just rips it apart from the inside out. The second theory is it was just a WIMP. It might have been what we call a dynamically new comet. This means it was likely its very first trip to the inner solar system. It had spent billions of years in the freezing dark outer reaches, and it had never felt this much heat or pressure from the sun before. And just like a loosely packed snowball hitting a warm sidewalk, it just couldn't hold itself together. It just disintegrated. It turns out Comet Atlas was all fluff and no substance. So was Comet Atlas a total disappointment? Well, for those of us hoping to look up from our backyards and see a celestial miracle, yeah, kind of. It was the hype that couldn't deliver. But for scientists, it was an absolute goldmine. We never get to see this. We got a front row seat to the death of a comet in high definition. We got to watch it happen, not after the fact, but in real time. This gives us more data on how comets die, how fragile they are, and what they are really made up of than we could have ever hoped for. We learned that a lot of comets probably die like this. We just never get to see them. They are still born before they can ever become great. And you know what? The universe has a funny sense of humor. Just as the ghost of Atlas was fading, only a few months later, another comet showed up, a comet called Neowise. And that comet delivered on every single promise Atlas ever made. But that is a story for another time. Thanks for watching.